Welcome to my brand new tutorial on design patterns. So let's get started with strategy pattern. Now let me give you some brief. Usually I have a couple of friends, right? Usually they use, so specifically Chinese use WeChat, Russians use VK, and Indians use Facebook. Now I want to model this behavior of usage into strategy pattern. Let's get started. I'm going to create a new Java class. And by the way, I'm going to code it up at this point and then I'm going to explain it further. Just wait until I explain, but as I code along, I would be talking with you guys and explaining to you what I'm doing. So I'm going to create a new student class. All right, now this is public class student. I'm going to make this public abstract class student and you'll get to know the reason why. And then the student will have a protected name, maybe protected string name. Okay, then I'm going to have the student is going to have a constructor. The reason I need a constructor is obviously to initialize the name of the student, so that's what I did here, and the shortcut key is function alt and insert, and then create an abstract method, and then we'll proceed. I'm going to create an abstract method called public void and public abstract void use social network. This is the name of the method. All right, now what did I do? Yeah, so public abstract void use social network, and this is the initial setup. So this is my abstract class. And guys, if you don't know what an abstract class is, I've done a video tutorial on explaining what an abstract class is. Please go check it out, otherwise you're not going to understand much about what I'm talking here. All right, so let's get started by creating another class. I'm going to say Indian student. So yeah, so Indian student basically is also going to have a constructor alt insert constructor. Indian student is basically going to extend from the abstract class called student. All right, now as soon as you do that, IntelliJ complains I have to implement these two methods. We'll do that. All right, so we have Indian student and then use social network method. We'll not worry about that at this point. Let's proceed further by creating two other classes. Let's say Chinese student. Okay, Chinese student extends student class, and then I'm going to use these two methods. All right, let's go ahead and create Java class for the Russian student. And again, Russian student also extends the student, and let's implement these two methods. So now that we have implemented and created all the abstractions, right, we have taken care of the abstraction. No, not quite yet, because we are going to create another thing called as a social network. Let's go ahead and create an interface actually called as social network. And this is going to be an interface. Okay, so public interface social network. Now there is just going to, this social network is an interface. It's just going to have void use it. Okay, so nothing fancy, right? So far, not something that is something that you should be worried about. So now I'm going to create another class called Facebook. So this is the concrete implementation for the social network. So I'm going to say implements social network. As soon as I do that, IntelliJ says, hey, you have to implement this method. Let's implement it. And then this time I'm going to say sout. Since I'm inside Facebook class, I would say using Facebook. And that's it. Now let me go ahead and create another Java class. We'll say this time WeChat, right? And then this implements our social network interface, and then I'm going to use this, and then here I'm going to say using WeChat. That's cool, right? All right, you know what, I'm just going to make this capital C. I hate that underline sometimes. Okay, I'm going to create a new Java class, and this time I'm going to say WeK, which is like it's a massive deal for European students, right? They use a lot. Okay, WeK implements social network, and I'm going to use it. Now when I use WeK, what am I doing? I'm going to say using WeK.com. So that is the name of the social network. You know what? I'll just make it WeK. So far, we are done with all our classes and interfaces and abstract method, right? Now, what we want to do is every student, no matter what, whether a Chinese, an Indian, or a Russian student, they use social network, right? I could say something like this: public abstract class student implements social network. No, you know what? We are learning good design practices. Design pattern is all about writing good piece of code, right? So I'm going to say protected, and I'm going to say social network. Look at this fancy thing here. I'm going to use a variable called social network. Voila! Wow, social network is used much like a data type. Wow, that's cool, right? And the reason we do this is because of the fact that we implemented this interface called social network. So that is why it's working well for us. It is much like the abstract class. Anyway, so this is our social network. And I'm going to create one more method here. This time I'm going to say public. And I'm not going to make this abstract. Instead, I'm going to say void, public void, set social network. And then I'm going to pass in social network as an argument. And then I'm going to say this dot social network equals social network from the outside, and that's it. So this is you'll understand, this is like the foundation for our strategy pattern. Will proceed as we continue to talk about rest of the other students. Now let's start from Indian student. Now Indian student, basically, like I said, what is he going to do? He is going to use which social network? So Indian student is going to use Facebook, right? So I'm going to say, oops, new Facebook. Okay, so social network for the Indian student is Facebook. And when I say use social network, I'm going to now say social network dot use it. I'll explain, I'll come back to this quick. And then now let's talk about the Russian student. Now what is the Russian students social network? Social network for Russian students is new WeK.com, right? And then I'm going to say social network dot use it. That's it. All right, so let's go back to our Chinese student. So what is the social network for our Chinese student? Well, social network for our Chinese student is new WeChat, correct? And then when we say use social network, we say social network dot use it. That's it. Now here comes the magic. We have taken care of everything for the social, for the strategy design pattern. All right, now what I'm going to do now is I am going to go to my main. I'm going to create a new class called Java as main class, and then hit OK, and then come in here and say PSVM, which is public static void main. Now here is all the magic. Here is where all the magic is. And so far, I appreciate your patience, because this is where everything comes into play. I'm going to create a new student. First of all, notice onto my left hand side, I have student. And I'm going to create, let's say, Rakshit is the name of the student, right? And he is a new Indian student. And let's pass him some arguments, Rakshit. All right. Now, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to say Rakshit in R, small r. So Rakshit dot use social network. Oops. Use social network. That's it. And for the sake, okay, let me just proceed further. Let's proceed by creating a Russian student. We'll call him Vadim, right? I hope this is like a Russian name. All right, Russian student is Vadim. Okay, now I've been used to this sort of convention. Yeah. Okay, so Vadim dot use social network. This time I'm going to create you know who, right? So we are going to create a Chinese student. We'll call him maybe Zhang. I don't know, right? Zhang is a new Chinese student. We'll give him his name as Zhang, which is what is going to be loaded to the constructor, and then they say Zhang dot use social network. Notice I am not telling. This is something that you have to clearly notice. I hate this indenting, but anyway, forget it. So Rakshit uses social network, Vadim uses social network, Zhang uses social network. And if I run this, you see Rakshit, when I say use social network, you know what? Let me just give it some level of commenting. Okay, S out. Rakshit. Oh man, Rakshit uses, and pass in here quickly with this. Oh good lord, why are you troubling me so much today? What? Okay, it's a void method, right? So we are not going to concatenate it with the void method. Instead, what we are going to do is we are going to put this outside of our S out. That's it. I know it's a bad thing, but can't help because I made it wide. Okay, so man, I hate this indenting if I don't get it right. Okay, now I'm going to say S out. Vadim uses. What does Vadim use? Vadim.use social network. And likewise, I'm going to copy this and paste it in here and say Zhang uses. Come on. Zhang uses Zhang.use social network, and put this inside here. Oh gosh. But at the end of the day, I still didn't get my indenting right. Forget it. Okay, let's run and see. Rakshit uses Facebook. Okay, and Vadim uses VK, and then Zhang uses WeChat. Now, here are certain things that you should observe. We never said Rakshit use Facebook. We never said Vadim use VK. We never said Zhang use WeChat, right? That if that is one thing, let's go back to our abstract student class and let us see how all of that was put together using this abstract pattern, right? Using this actually strategy pattern. And by the way, we could have done something like this. This is first of all called as composition, because if you use anything with an interface to the main class, then it's usually going to be called as composition. And the reason why composition works so well is because, let's just say the social network, the social network got into place. Let me just do something like this. Void. You know what? I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to tell you why it's important. Why composition is important is because if you just directly use inheritance instead of composition, and if the parent class changes its specifications, then the child class would be badly affected. So you know what, let me just try and use this for you so that I can make some sense. So let's just say abstract class student implements social network. You know what, I'm trying to get rid of this composition and I'm trying to show you what would be the consequence, which is a very bad thing that you should never consider doing. Now, since it's abstract class, it's not asking us to implement, but you know what, I'm not going to go so far because we don't have much time, because I want to keep this video under 25 minutes or 25ish minutes or whatever. So that is the idea. You know, why should we not do inheritance? Why do we prefer composition over inheritance? Is because of that fact. If there is a change in the spec of the parent, then the child class should also implement everything and change everything. You know, there's a lot of code changing that would happen in the child class as well. So for instance, if there were 100 child classes, then we are in total trouble and deep problem, right? So we don't want that to happen. That is why we prefer composition over inheritance, which is the key principle in almost all design patterns, okay? Specifically the core key principle of strategy design pattern. And the next thing that you should always understand is you know, you're doing everything dynamically. So what do I mean by dynamically? So let's go and check it out. You know, we just said use social network, right? We are not telling use Facebook or use WeChat or use whatever, right? So instead we are telling use that and that and that. Then automatically compiler is going to detect which is what the network is, right? So compiler is going to check, oh, so Zhang is a Chinese student. Okay, let's go and check out what Zhang uses as his social network. So that is what is happening inside, right? So let's go back to our main. So everything is loaded dynamically, which is very important. So that is the idea. And then now let's just say now Zhang changes his mind. You know, Zhang changes his mind to switch from WeChat to, let's say, Facebook. Now, if I did not implement this sort of a design, then I would have been in deep trouble, because I would have said something like this. I would have said Zhang uses WeChat. I would have hard coded everything. I don't want that to happen, right? It's a very good practice to try to avoid as much hard coding as possible. So if I had hard coded everything, then you know, I would have gotten into deep trouble. Deep trouble meaning I should have done a lot of stuff, which is something that I hate to do as a programmer. You know, as a programmer, you should always try to. So here's the thing about programming, right? Your future you should thank you, right? Every time when there is a spec change, your future you would start cursing you. But usually in a good programming design, your future you would thank you. So this is a case where your future you would thank you if there is any spec change. What do I mean by spec? It's specifications. Anyway, that's something that you would know at this point. Specification is a document that would specify, oh, so this program should do this. This program should do this. Anyway, I'm not going to go too much theoretical part into it. Okay, so reason I talked about all of that is okay, so let's just say that now Zhang changed his mind to use from you know, to jump from WeChat to Facebook. Now since I said use social network, all I can do is simply set the new social network for Zhang. So I'll say Zhang dot set social network, and then I'm going to say new Facebook, and that's it. And if I just try and copy paste this again, Zhang changed to, and then try and run this out. You see, Zhang changed from WeChat to Facebook. You see, so simple. You know how simple that is? Because of our concept here. That is the power of abstraction. That is the power of using the strategy design pattern, because we directly set the social network. And why it works is because if we go look at it, so this is our set social network, right? So it is taking in a social network as an argument and setting this dot social network is equal to social network. You see, we are never saying Facebook, WeChat, VK, or tomorrow there could be several thousand other additions. Maybe there is Twitter, Stumble, whatever, Pinterest, Medium. The list goes on and on and on. And if we had hard coded everything, every time there is some new platform, then I as a programmer, I had to come down here, laying out everything that I was doing, and then change it. Okay, so now, we have Medium. That sense of so much of extra work is absolutely avoided because we used abstraction. You see, this is abstraction. It's cool that IntelliJ is converted from unused to used after so much time. I don't know why. IntelliJ just woke up probably. So that is the power of abstraction. You see, social network. We are hiding every implementation detail. In our case, the implementation detail is which social network, right? And like I said, if there is a new one, then we have no problem whatsoever at all. So this is how we do strategy design pattern. And by the way, now we spoke about social network, right? Now this could be even applicable for food parts as well. So for instance, Chinese student, they tend to eat a lot of meat, while Indian student, they tend to eat a lot of red meat, while Indian students, they tend to eat not red meats, right? So then we could say maybe an interface called food, right? And then try and implement two classes, red meat, non-red meat. So Indian student would go, and in the constructor you could say food equals non-red meat. For Chinese student you could say food equals red meat. Things like that. Oh, and by the way, let me show you the design diagram. Show diagram, Java diagram, and so here we are. Okay, so basically this is our abstract class, and Chinese student, Russian student, Indian student are all extending from the abstract class. And then here is our social network interface. Okay, and VK, WeChat, Facebook is all extending from implementing that social network interface. And then I want to show you one important thing. So student has a social network, which is what is composition. It is not an is a relationship, but it is a has a relationship. Let me show you by asking IntelliJ to help you show you all that. Okay, IntelliJ, put this. So here we are. Okay, cool. So now a student is having a social network. A student is not a social network. So that is the major difference in composition and inheritance. Composition has a relationship, where where inheritance gives is a relationship. So that's the diagram here. So if you have any questions, by the way, I'm going to upload this code on my GitHub. Please go and check it out. I'm going to push it there. And if you have any questions, please comment below, and then we can go from there. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share.